From here, the stories start to get a little bit darker. Welcome to episode 3. Now in this episode, I'll be talking about what's coined as either ghosts or shadow people. Whichever way you define it. To me, it's the definition of what I think a ghost is. So that's what I'm going to keep it as. So anybody out there that's encountered shadow people in a sense, I'd say you've seen a ghost. Because this next encounter is nothing compared to my second encounter. It's very, very difficult to compare the two, or put the two in the same bracket, because they weren't the same. That's just that. Now to clarify, it had been nearly 3 years since I'd had a visual, so this is my first after seeing the having the encounters in the paddock. These will be these next two stories will be my first visuals after those experiences. So I've had a bit of a break, I've had some time to think about what I went through. Still nobody had known about these stories. So from this point on, it really got difficult. Now at this stage in my life, after those first two experiences and me trying to make sense of those, up to this point I dropped out of school. I was on a major decline mentally. Like, I was very depressed, trying to make sense of what was going on. I'd left out of school, didn't know what direction I was going, didn't know what was happening in my life. So at that stage, me and my mother had a falling out. I was living with her at the time, and had nowhere to go, so it was either the streets or back to my father's. Ended up moving into my father for a short period, and that's where this next encounter happened. Now, I was always into dark music, like depressing music. My favourite song at that time was Fade to Black by Metallica, and that's a dark song about suicide and giving up. Well, anyway, I was at that stage in my life where I didn't know what I was doing, didn't know where I was going. I was always alone. Barely saw the old boy. He was always working, worked night shift. So during the day he slept, and I was never home. So So anyway, I was in a really dark place. Music I was into was dark as well. It was all depressing. This one particular night, the old boy was at work obviously, and I'd climbed into bed, no different than any other night. I've laid down, shut my eyes, and just as I was about to drift off to sleep, something woke me up. I woke up, I looked towards to the door, which was closed, and there was a dressing gown hanging up on the door. And I could see something moving inside the dressing gown. It's one of those things, I'm looking at it and watching it, and I wasn't too sure what I was looking at. The shadow reached into the pocket of the dressing gown and it pulled out my black heavy metal tape, which had Fade to Black on it, and that instantly popped into my head. That song popped into my head. I jumped out of bed out of fear. I walked straight up to the door and I punched it, thinking I was punching the being inside the gown. I ripped the door open, grabbed that cassette tape, broke it in half, and threw it away. It was safe to say that I'd never listen to Fade to Black again for at least 10 to 15 years. So anyway, after that had happened, I'd pulled the dressing gown off the door, I'd left the door open, and I was just laying there looking into the hallway. And it was at that time when I saw two figures walk past the doorway. Full detail. I could see the clothes, I could see everything. As opposed to the one that was in the dressing gown, that was just a black mass. And when those two walked past the door, I felt at ease. And, I felt safe. Which is very weird. It's very, I hadn't encountered those ones in 3 years. And then seeing this black shadow, that in my mind, I come to the conclusion that it wanted me to take my life. It wanted me to commit suicide. But I wasn't depressed to that point that I would have anyway, so. So now, as you can see, I'm starting to acquire a little list of experiences, that I really can't explain. The light through the clouds, with the message in the grass. Then I had the encounter a week later of the three shadow figures. Human in appearance, but I could see straight through them. I could see them in detail. It's like, when you see, I'd say the Predator, but I could see it more clear than what. But the same thing. It was always camouflaged. So that's pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much what I saw. So the only reason I had fear there in red is because it was my first time experiencing it. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have ran. It was probably something to learn that day. Or maybe I was just getting prepared for what was to come. Because what was to come, it's made a major impact on my life moving forward. I still live a normal life, there's no... but I'm more private in my experiences now. Like I don't tell anybody anything that they don't need to know. If I've learned something new and it's for me and me alone, then it stays with me and me alone. I don't. Some things I don't feel comfortable saying because I don't think it's the right thing for me to say, and I'll get that feeling from within me. I'm not hearing any voices or nothing saying can't talk about, can't do this, can't do that. It's a feeling, Otherwise, I'll talk about more on this podcast, but I'm only going to go so far. I'll back up about my experiences and talk about other people's experiences and how I can connect with them. And if I can't, and it wasn't for a few years. I'm running off what I'm seeing. I'm trying to make sense of what I'm seeing. That I tried to, and this is a lot of years before the internet came out. Or when the internet came out, I started to look into other people's experiences and other people's stories and stuff, and see if I can find a link between mine and anybody else's. And one of them didn't happen till really late in life, and that was the black shadow in the gown. Because me and that figure, I'll disclose this, but me and that figure, during that moment, we had a connection between the two of us. Like it was a strange feeling. I've had it before, and I've had it after that encounter. But yeah, we had a connection between the two of us before I pulled out that tape and I reacted the way I reacted. And it wasn't. I'd watched YouTube videos and watched documentaries and stuff of people that had seen shadow people, and I just couldn't relate to none of that. Now, the shadow people was always talking about a man in a hat. I didn't encounter none of that. But it wasn't until I watched Prodigy in an interview with a therapist. I think it was called The Therapist, and it was with a a rapper Prodigy from New York, where he talked about how he went to bed one night, and just before he was about to fall asleep, a black shadow went across the bedroom, and it scared him that much that he ducked under the covers and shut his eyes and tucked himself away. And I got chills because I knew exactly what he'd seen. I'd seen the exact same thing. And the story that he gave out as a result of seeing that shadow was that some sort of being that exists and feeds off our mankind's negativity and anger. Now, I'm not too sure on that. I'm pretty positive that the being that I saw wanted me to take my life, and it's that simple. Yeah, but after him talking about his encounter, I instantly got chills. It was alright. It's not just me. And yeah, well, that was the only time that no, it's not the only time I'd encountered that one. But have you ever been walking and you felt like somebody was there, and you look back to see if there's somebody there and there's nobody there? That's that one. So that there is my definition of a ghost, or as people call them, shadow people. But they are the spirit of man. There is no definition involved. It's just a mass. You'll have a connection with it, and yeah. And you see, I've come to understand that when we leave this place, when we pass away, we're no longer within the physical realm. So we no longer require the element of clothing. Anything that we'd use to as a means to cover ourselves up, clothes, or our eyes to see, our ears to hear, our mouth to speak, our mind to think. It's all tied in to one single energy. Alright? Now this energy is your spirit. It's how you can communicate on the other side. It's how you have a connection with somebody and they'll just know it's you. It's just the spirit knows spirit. So even though you might not be recognisable on the other side when you pass away, you're going to be recognised on the other side by those that know you. That's how I've come to understand it. I could be wrong. At the end of the day, everything that I've gone through and experienced is probably hogwash and shit. And I should have just fucking tucked it away and left it down. Left it down in the briefcase and not brought it out. But I'm pretty confident on what I've experienced and how I've come to see our existence. Because at the end of the day, evolution wasn't brought into existence till 1850, 1855 or something like that. So that's 200 years ago. Less than 200 years ago. And science has existence all figured out in 200 years. Come on. People have believed in religion for nearly 4,000 years, so, probably longer than 4,000 years. So, I just cannot accept the idea of evolution because of what I've experienced. What I've experienced has a design. What I've experienced wasn't a case of natural selection. What I've experienced is a case of after we leave here. That's not what I've experienced is not evolution. It has nothing to do with evolution. Yeah, you could have an argument with it being connected to religion, but it's not. Religion's a man-made ideology. And like I said, you want to believe in it, believe in it. It's your choice. I think I think that this planet naturally had the elements to sustain life. That's 100% inevitable, and then everything else was added later. Like I said, think of Noah's Ark, but on a larger scale. We're talking about, mankind's only been well established on this planet since. I'm going to give you the timeline of how long I think mankind's been here, because I don't think many people are going to like it. It's not a very long time. Um, for the idea of evolution to stick, then all of their ideas have to stick. They have to make their ideas relevant. You take away carbon dating and stuff like that, and disprove it. What's science got? They haven't got anything. I just not all science, but I treat most science, or I trust most science, like a fart when I have a case of the bubble guts. That's how I feel about most sciences on this planet. I just don't trust it at all, and I never have. Some things are good. Some things are good for the planet, but and some things are good for us. But some of it's just no good. It's no good for our progression forward. It's no good for our mental health. It's no good for our spirit. It's no good for the planet. So you have to dissect and pick and choose between the fucking sciences that you agree with and those that you don't agree with. Evolution, I can't agree with it at all. It's just because it can't tie in to what I've experienced. And yeah, it's just, and plus I get that feeling inside me too. It just don't. It's not. I'm telling you, it's just not there. It's just not there. And neither's religion. There's elements of religion that I can make sense of. And I've even said in the book, the time period that religion has for mankind being here, I think it's pretty spot on. And that's only going back. I'll give it a little bit extra time, but 7,000 BC. That's pretty realistic in my eyes. You look at mankind at the time of the pyramids, and that's 2,000 BC. You just got to have a look at the timeline. Make sense of it. And there was no natural selection in mankind's design. There's no natural selection in the wildlife that inhabit the planet neither. They were put here by something else. That's 100% fact. And that something else, it's put us all here for a certain purpose. And for most of it, it's an understanding. It's an understanding of his existence. Mankind weren't put here to be slaves. There's an understanding that we need to get, and it's not anything that you're going to learn in school neither. You have to cross a dark path to get there and have a look. That's how I've come to understand it. I'm not saying you should do it. Like I said, do what you do. I'm going to continue down my path. I'm going to continue to see things the way I see them and understand things the way I understand them. And I'm doing this now so you guys get an idea of who I am, what I've experienced. I'll continue to talk about such things in life on the podcast as well. I'll try and keep it going for as long as I can. Yeah, so. Well, anyway, back to the shadow. The conclusion I come to, this is just my idea, that the conclusion I come to was that this being was preventing me from learning something, or preventing me from understanding something. Because I'm just a human embodiment like anyone else, but my mind was extremely open. I think this being was trying to stop me from maybe learning what I've learnt thus far, understanding what I understand thus far. I don't know, but for my life to be taken there at that point would have been a benefit to nothing. I'm no different to you. You and me the same. Just living our lives, trying to getting through this life as comfortable and as easy as we can. Within a system that's definitely not working for anybody. They continue to run it. This planet should be completely and utterly a free trade system between all countries. There shouldn't be you shouldn't be limited on where you can go and where you can't go. There shouldn't be passports to travel here or travel there. Some things you do need. We need to have in place. A driver's license is important. That should be absolutely. But you shouldn't have to go and get a passport to travel to Canada if you want to go to Canada. Just get in a plane and go. Your license should be enough identification for you to up and go. And you shouldn't be restricted on where you can live. Live where you want to live. You like Sweden and want to live in Sweden? Go and live in Sweden. But all these rules, all these regulations, all these beliefs, all these political agendas, it's just ruined the idea of what mankind could be. And that's just something we have to live with too. My time's, I'm getting closer and closer to my time being up, Without sounding morbid, it comes, it is what it is. I'm ready, I've been ready, Most of my family's all gone except my daughter. My daughter's still here, But everyone else, I may have cousins and all that out there that I don't have anything to do with. But my immediate family, my close, they're pretty much all gone. As long as I know my daughter's alright, then I'll be able to check out quite comfortably when my time comes. I'll leave my passing as natural as possible. I'm not trying to purposely shorten my time, because that could be classified as taking your own life. Taking your own life is bad. We're not supposed to commit suicide. It's just because we've got some business to learn here, some important stuff to learn. That if you cross over without some form of understanding, your transition back is going to be pretty quick. I think it's a spiritual journey where understanding is the main key. And if you leave here without some form of understanding, you're going to have to come back. And unfortunately, that's the that's the way I see it. That's the consider life here as hell. Your heaven is never having to come back to live another physical existence. Consider that heaven, and having to come back here as hell. So if you want to put a religious tie into it, we'll keep that as that. So you got to work your way out of this place to be free of it, because it's only here that you're going to get. You're going to feel all the emotions, and they're going to affect you as much as they are. On the other side, it's peaceful. You're not going through pain. You're not going through all the emotions that you get here. And they can be quite hellish. I've gone through some emotions that I wish I never had to. I still go through them from time to time. Well, that's my conclusion for episode 3. hope you're sticking around. I hope you're enjoying the content, and hopefully you'll stick around for what's yet to come, episode 4. Thanks, guys.